Are you a scaling SaaS founder?
Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those who don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Hey, welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where we dive into SaaS strategies, sometimes with the position of a gold medal winning diver and other times with the grace of a belly flop. And I think usually I'm more that second one. I don't know about you. But I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you scale from 7 figures, which is good, to 8 and 9 figures, which is outstanding. Together, we supercharge revenue growth, create premium valuation, and craft the business you're proud of and a life of impact and freedom that you love. Well, we are still here in Hawaii, celebrating a special episode of SaaS Fuel. This is episode 99. If you count the trailer, it's 100. So we're celebrating 100 on both episodes this week, Tuesday and Thursday. So like I said, we're still here in beautiful Hawaii. We're on the Big Island. It's fantastic. And we started with a group of super smart and successful entrepreneurs sharing ideas and working on our businesses. And I stayed for some R&R. And I've been doing a lot of scuba diving and exploring. And last night we went to check off a bucket list item, and that was diving with manta rays at night. Very, very cool. And so they're kind of cruising in and eating in the lights and eating plankton. It's way, way cool. Last night we got to watch the sunset, and then it was super dark underwater, which is really good for critter action. And then we got to see the moonrise over the mountain afterwards. I'll post some pics on social. Night diving is just awesome. And I was telling someone this the other day, and they're like, the ocean, like at night, like under the water, like where the scary stuff is, where the sharks are. And like, yeah, that's the one. It's the one we got. And, just wrapping their head around that was hard. There was no category for it. But I bet you've experienced very much the same thing when you say that you're a founder or an entrepreneur. They're like, you mean out there, starting your own thing, working without a safety net, no steady paycheck? I mean, where the sharks are? You're like, yep, that's the one. And entrepreneurs, I think we're just wired differently. Maybe a little difficult to understand, but what drives us? Why in the world would anyone want to go create something, risk failure, risk financial losses, risk disappointment? Being disappointed by people, not having a team to do the things, all the things that they're supposed to be done in business, not having a team, being on your own. And why would somebody leave comfortable dry land and jump in the ocean at night? And I think it's because there's more to life than comfort. Comfort and easy, really, it's kind of weird. It becomes uncomfortable when we see that there's a better way, a better solution, a better path forward. And we have the ability to do something about it. As entrepreneurs, we step into the darkness, face our fears, and create that light. And I think it's that willingness to venture into dark places and make a better way. And that's one of the things I really appreciate most about founders and entrepreneurs. It's what makes our economy function. If that stopped, if that innovation stopped, our entire economy would just tank. It's a vital part of our world. And doing it in SaaS, I think, is just so much fun. So whether you've been with us since the beginning or this is your very first episode, I really appreciate you entrusting me with your time and attention. If you want a group of fellow high-growth SaaS founders who are also crazy enough to venture into the dark unknown, then check out today's sponsor, Champion Leadership Group. It's the ultimate resource for SaaS founders and C-suite executives to continue to develop themselves, scale their companies, and never walk alone. Supercharge revenue by leveraging our time-tested SaaS growth principles, toolkits, playbooks, and frameworks designed to help you scale ARR from 7 to 8 to 9 figures. Collaborate with an elite network of SaaS visionaries, celebrate wins, and overcome defeats together. Confidently take the right next step that creates a giant leap to profitable growth, premium valuation, and freedom. Learn more at championleadership.com. Our expert guest last week was Craig T. Ingram, sales genius and master of go-to-market and expansion product marketing. If you're new to sales or need a sales boost, this is a solid episode for you. Our founder on Tuesday was Jeff Jekyll, co-founder and chief strategy officer at Client Giant. He's a 5-time founder who has redefined client appreciation, employee recognition, and just makes it so darn easy to stand out from the crowd. My number one takeaway from that episode was why sending a gift with a logo on it isn't a gift, and what to do instead. If you don't know, go check out that episode. This week we have a number of guests I recorded with live at different events. I'll give you a brief introduction before the interview starts, and of course our full bios and links are available at saasfuel.com. We also have some return guests with their number one tip for SaaS founders. Super valuable. Really excited about this episode. My first guest this week is Slava Tarasov, co-founder and design director at BN Digital. Life is way too short for bad user interfaces, and BN Digital is on a mission to eradicate them and create amazing user experiences in SaaS. Welcome a guy who makes sure that your awesome SaaS is used and loved, Slava Tarasov.
Jeff, I just want to congratulate everyone at SaaS Fuel for your 100th podcast coming up. What a great milestone. And thank you so much for sharing your ideas and vision with the ecosystem. And thanks for letting me be part of your journey.
Next up, we have Amar Goel, co-founder and CEO of Bitto. We talked a lot about on the show about how AI is enhancing skills rather than just replacing people, and Bitto is doing just that. It's very cool. They help devs 10x their productivity and output using ChatGPT and their IDEs to write tests, code, explain code, and more. Say hello to someone using tech to make better tech, Amar Goel. Hey, I'm here with Amar Goel, founder and CEO of Bitto. So, Amar, tell me a little bit about Bitto. What do you do?
Yeah, so Bitto is an AI assistant for developers. So we kind of sit in the tools that developers use every day, like their IDE and their command line interface, their CLI. And we can help them kind of do everything. It's built on top of OpenAI, GPT 4 and 3.5 and some other models. And so they can use it to write code, write test cases, explain code, debug problems that they're having, explain to them how to do things. We're finding it's really powerful. It's kind of exciting. Like 100,000 developers are using it.
Wow.
And they're saying they're seeing a 31% increase in productivity, which kind of blew us away when we
really
surveyed them
impressive.
about it. Yeah.
31% is big. I mean, it's something I hear all the time is we need more people, we need more developers.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on. And it's, 31%, that's a third more developers, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think absolutely. I mean, I think AI is going to create so many opportunities, not just for developers, but in sales and marketing, et cetera. But I think we feel like for developers, it really allows them to do so many more things that they couldn't do before. And, we sort of talk about 10xing them, if you will. And so I think it kind of becomes a real equalizer. So, I mean, this is a little bit of an extreme example, but my 9-year-old, he can't, he's not a developer per se, but he used Bitto to write a whole Chrome extension to go. And
Wow.
he basically typed 2 lines. He said, hey, go to eBay. I'm going to give you a product name. Go to eBay, grab a list of all those products that are on the site, rank them by price, and show them to me. And it said, all right, here's your 3 different files for your Chrome extension. And then he said, well, actually, I don't like the view. Like, can you make it a little wider? Or can you bold the headline?
Wow.
And rewrite it. And it rewrote that. Now,
that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's like a simple plugin.
Yeah, but like even if you're a professional developer, it still would have taken you like an hour or 2. And this did it in like 3 minutes,
That's pretty impressive.
So, no, that's just like one kind of simple example.
Yeah.
But we're seeing so many more, like even senior developers on our team are like, this gets 80% of the job done for me, or I'm struggling with a bug. It can immediately sort of give me suggestions about where the issue might be.
Debug code that's already written.
You can say, here's my code, here's this bug, what should I do, or what do you suggest? And it's like, here's 3 potential areas where it might be happening, So, I mean, debugging is one of those things where it's like, takes 80% of the time sometimes.
It takes a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah.
If you could have some help with that, it'd be really, really nice.
Yeah.
So is it a model that's inside the company or is it public? So like if you put your security keys in there, Samsung, that, is that something that is exposed to the world or is it?
Yeah. No, so we, security's been kind of something that's been top of mind for us as we, developers ourselves, spend a lot of time talking to the developing community. I mean, people are very concerned about things like, secrets, passwords, just what happens to my code. So we never see any of your code.
Okay.
I mean, we never store any of your code. So the code just passes through our API, goes to the AI models. They don't use it for training. They're not storing it. And then the answer comes back. And so we've tried to do a lot to really improve or maximize kind of the security of their code. And we're seeing a bunch of enterprises feel very comfortable with that.
So one of the things that I've heard from developers, and some are really embracing AI and some are very, very, I don't want to say scared, but they don't want to have anything to do with it, is that some of the code that comes back, a junior developer might think it's really good, but a senior developer would look at it and go, this is garbage.
Yeah.
So how do you know if the code is quality that you're getting back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question. I would say that, right now, it's a little bit more of we find that generally, like we look at how people rate the responses back, whether it's code or test cases or explaining something, like how they rate the quality of that answer. And we're seeing that kind of trend up, over time. But I mean, I don't think that that's something that we fully cracked yet. I think one of the things that we think is a big opportunity is to build agents that kind of perform more complex tasks. And some of those agents can do interesting things like get an answer and then say, let me look at the quality of this answer. And does it meet some threshold of certain things? And then if not, maybe like, let's generate another answer, and do that iteratively. So I think that there's a lot of ways to improve this and to get to where you feel really good about the quality of the answer coming out is, foolproof, if you will.
Yeah. So your AI, is it continuing to learn based on the input and the code that comes back and the feedback?
Yeah. So there, I would say it's a little bit complicated answer to that question. So broadly, we're using the models, the mainstream models that are out there.
Sure.
One of the things we feel is that the number of models are exploding.
Yeah.
So OpenAI, ChatGPT was kind of this big thing late last year, but now there's a company, Anthropic, that has some pretty phenomenal models. One of them, they came out with a model that can handle 100,000 tokens, so about 400,000 characters. I mean, it's like hundreds of pages of text. So now all of a sudden you can do it really long, complicated things with it. Google's coming out with models. So we're seeing that there's a plethora of models. Many of them don't allow you to train them specifically for your own things. Some of them do. So we're looking at all that. But one of the big things that we are working on is to be able to allow you to have us understand your local code base. A lot of people call that training. Technically, it's not really training.
Sure.
But for the casual observer, it feels like, hey, this knows my code base. And that comes up in sales too, right? The sales analogy is like, hey, I just had a meeting with this customer. Can you write the follow-up email?
Right.
But you'd love for them to have the context of, well, what are the last 5 meetings I had? Or what's the actual opportunity that we're talking about? So can you pull that out of Salesforce?
Right.
And as you're writing that email, take that into account. So the same way is with code base. What if you're writing a new module and you're like, but I want you to use the authentication mechanisms that we use. And so how do you essentially understand how you authenticate a user, or what are the parameters that you use, and then incorporate that,
So how did you come up with the idea for Bido?
Yeah, it's an interesting, kind of evolution. Like we actually started with working on collaboration for developers.
Okay.
We were trying to build tools that would bring sort of Slack and Google Docs type experience to the developer's IDE. And it was just kind of a journey as we were working on that. And, people would say, oh, I'd love to try this. But then when we actually gave it to them to use it, they didn't really want to use it. They were kind of like, well, we just ended up doing, they would say, we'll use it. And then they didn't use it. They would just do all their collaboration in Slack. And then they said, but this would be really helpful in remote environments to train new people because they're really lost on the code base. And so people were like, help us with that. And then we were starting to think about AI as a way to help explain code and help them answer questions about code. And then, this kind of explosion happened late last year with GPT 3.5. And we really thought that, wow, something's really happening here. And we think this is like a really interesting opportunity to empower developers. And so we just kind of got really focused on that and kind of went from there.
That's good. It seems like kind of the next iteration of, it used to be you write everything by hand, and then we have libraries, and now you've got AI assist.
Yeah, I wish this thought had been my own, but it's something I saw out on Twitter. It's like, you really look at the history of like software development, it's just increasing levels of abstraction.
Yeah.
You started with like assembly code, and then, then it was like, hey, we have like basic languages, but like you said, there's libraries you have to include. Then people started coming up with frameworks, languages that do garbage collection for you, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Well, this is in another way, like another layer of abstraction where it's kind of like, I can use English, or I can write in French or in Chinese or Japanese and get something that I want.
I can just ask for what I want and get it.
Or like I can get help, in my kind of native language. So, I don't think we're at the promised land yet, but this is just another, like I said, layer of abstraction to make it easier to accomplish my goal, get to my outcome. And I think that's where we feel like, there's obviously all this talk about like, well, are people going to lose their jobs and all that stuff. And I think in some ways, like you will see that, some loss in the short term, but I think what it actually unlocks is people to be a lot more productive.
Right. Right.
And so I think there's a lot of software that doesn't get built today because you're like, well, for the amount of money and investment we have to make to do that, it's not worth it. Like,
Right.
just every company says, well, this feature, you want to build this feature, but it only appeals to 5% of the users.
Right.
And so we got a roadmap, we only have so many people, but now it's like, well, I can build that feature. Now I can go down to like, as long as the feature appeals to 10 people, we're going to build it because it appeals to somebody and the cost of developing that has gone down. Or I had this idea for an app and now I can make it. So I think that like frees up an incredible opportunity to kind of democratize access to that software.
I think like no code, low code development has done that to some degree.
Yeah.
Do you see that same thing happening in AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's sort of like low code, no code in a way, but like for tackling far more complex kind of use
It
cases.
seems like then the next iteration of even that, because you're just asking for something.
Yeah.
Not like taking things that exist and assembling them.
Yeah.
But just, hey, I want this, and there it is.
Well, and I think that's kind of something that's people are thinking about in a lot of different areas. Like, Zapier has come out with some AI tools. I mean, it's still really early, but like, instead of having to configure a Zap to connect this system, that system, now I just tell it speak in or type in what I want and it connects it. Or, I mean, I've,
Huge advantage there.
talking to a lot of software companies are thinking about, can I help users configure my product? So a lot of products have a lot of capabilities, but the users don't unlock most of those capabilities because they're like, it's too much work to configure it and I got to go learn all your workflows and tools and I'm busy. And so, but if it's like now a 5-minute job, you just be like, well, I want this, imagine if I'm in like, I don't know, ClickUp or Asana and just be like, hey, I want to just tell you that like, if an email comes in from this, put it to this work group. After 24 hours, if somebody hasn't like looked at it, send it to John. If he hasn't looked at it in 24 hours, like send an email to his boss and then route it to this person. I mean, all of a sudden, like, okay, we can set that up pretty easily. And now you have a much more sophisticated enterprise level workflow.
Yeah. And I think that, either writing really complex statements to do that, there are people who are really good at that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you can articulate it to somebody that is good at that, like, oh, that's easy here, and it's done.
Totally.
And now you're taking all of that out, and you're asking for it, and it's done.
Yeah. And so I think there's a big ability to kind of enable a lot of those scenarios for developers as well,
So what's the future of development?
I mean, I think it's, hopefully you're going faster, fewer bugs, fewer headaches, like more well-designed code, well-scaled, less bug-free. So, I mean, I think hopefully it's more, better, faster,
What about security? So if AI is writing code, are they thinking about like the top 10, OWASP? Are they using secure development practices? Or is that really still up to the developer to review?
No, I mean, absolutely. Like, we think there's like a huge opportunity to help developers with security just as much as kind of all these other things. Like 2 of the big use cases people have is like they give us some code and they say, help me make this code more performant. And they say, help do a security check on this code. Like, can you help me see if there's
Really
any security vulnerabilities, right? Or like, could I have an open source vulnerability here, some sort of injection, let's say I'm messing around with SQL. So, I mean, we think that there's like a huge ability to help developers with all these use cases.
That's fantastic. Outstanding.
Great. Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Hey, Jeff, Massimo Arrigoni here with the B team. Congrats to you and your team for getting to episode 100 of the SaaS Fuel podcast. That's amazing. It's a lot of great content. I love podcasts like yours because from every episode, you can always come away with like a little nugget of wisdom that helps you become a better entrepreneur or just better at doing your job. And back when you interviewed me, that was episode 34. I talked about one of the things that I believe in the most, and products that work the best typically come out of teams and people that are really close to the problem. They know the problem that they're solving so well that the product just naturally flows out of that knowledge. And so I want to double down on that and just reiterate how important it is as we grow in our companies and our businesses to stay close to the problem. 5 things that you can do that we can all do to stay close. 1, ask sales to let you know when they've had a conversation with a client that just highlighted the frustration, the pain points that they were going through. If they record those conversations, even better. Listen to those conversations. Number 2, ask your CX team or customer service team to highlight a ticket, a conversation, an interaction that they had with a customer that was particularly frustrated. Understand that frustration. Where is it coming from? What else can you do to help that customer overcome it? Number 3, ask marketing when they create case studies. Read those case studies and ask questions. Invite the marketing team to go even deeper into the why. Why is the customer happy about your product? Let's not stop at sort of the surface. So sometimes a little bit of BS. Let's dive deeper. Why are they really happy about what you've built? The purpose of a case study is not just to be a marketing asset, but to really double down on what's successful to become even more successful. And then number 4, ask your product team to let you know when they've had a really good customer interview. And if they do jobs to be done interviews, even better. Hopefully they can record them and you can listen to some of them. Just let them know that you want to know when they've had an interview that is particularly helpful. And then number 5, go to trade shows, go to conferences and ask questions. You're there, you, the entrepreneur, the business leader, the product leader, you're not there to sell. You're there to listen and get closer and closer to the very problems that you're solving. As we grow, it's so easy to let distance come into place between you and that problem that you're solving. We don't want to let that happen. Reduce the distance, stay close to the problem, and that's going to help all of us build the best products we can build. Thanks again for listening. Thank you for your podcast. Keep going. It's really helpful. And I wish you and your team the best success with the podcast and the rest of your business.
Once in a while I meet a founder with a fresh take on an old idea. And today that is Brandon Gaty, co-founder of Letter Labs. They're making direct mail great again with true personalization at scale. But check this out. It's not just direct mail marketing. There are lots and lots of use cases. How about sending a personalized card, handwritten card, to a client? Pretty cool stuff. Brandon made me think differently about mail and how to use it, and maybe he will you too. Welcome, Brandon Gaty. Hey, I'm here with Brandon from Letter Labs, who is revolutionizing how we're marketing, and it's not the channel that you might think. So Brandon, tell me a little bit about what you do at Letter Labs. I think there's a clue in the name.
Absolutely. So with Letter Labs, we're a direct mail provider, but what makes us special is that we've developed our own robotics from scratch that use a real pen to handwrite each card. And what you get is a authentic handwritten card read by robots, but the closer you look, the more you can tell is actually written by a real pen.
So this is it is a pen and a machine. It's not just like a printed cursive font.
Not printed whatsoever. We use real ballpoint pens. Have to replace them, but that gives us the most authentic experience. We've tried a lot of different things, but with a printer, you can tell that it's fake, and I think it really detracts from the experience, which is really what we're super focused on.
Yeah, I get those in the mail sometimes. It's like the yellow legal pad, and it's obviously just a printed font on that. They went to all the trouble to do that and even make it look handwritten.
Right.
And it's so cheesy.
It is cheesy.
So but you don't do that.
We don't do that. No, I think what we're going after here is that a personalized experience where the recipient opens the card and they're not focused on, is this real? They're focused on, what did you write? What's the message? And, oftentimes they're left, impressed, reach out to you and say, hey, I really appreciate this. Let's talk more about your offer. And it works really, really well from a marketing perspective.
That's very cool. So it's really a more personal touch, but it's not something that you're going to get writer's cramp having to write a whole bunch of these. So you can do it at scale.
You can.
But it still has that personal feel.
Absolutely. Thanks to mail merge technology, we're able to take a template and personalize it to hundreds of thousands of people if you'd like. All you need is the data in your CRM. Change out fields like the first name, different variables depending on the industry you're in. But it is really a personalized experience. And I think what we've seen is the more personalized you can make your message, the better the response rate and the conversion. And the way this really stands out is that people aren't used to receiving personalized marketing communication, especially via mail. And so that's where we really excel.
That's cool. So it's not like a sales letter. You said it's a card.
It's a card. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of a message, or is there graphics? And what is it like? What kind of card is it?
So it's really up to you. We have different form factors between a card and an invitation envelope to a postcard. And the message is really up to you. And so if you've ever used Canva, you know how easy it is to drag and drop your design. And think of our platform as the same way, where you can get on there, put your branding, or use one of our pre-made templates for a thank you card or whatever. You can get in there, change to one of our 60 different handwriting styles, and really make a personal card that you'd like to send to your recipient, all in just a few minutes.
You have like a really messy handwriting style, because that would be my.
Not as messy as mine, but we definitely do, and we spend a lot of time to make it so that the handwriting styles really come out as authentic and not too perfect. So we started out, they look too nice, and then we've really dialed it back to make it look
more
realistic,
human.
more human. Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be personal.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I like that. So how did you come up with the idea?
So I actually have another e-commerce business, and during the pandemic realized that there's a population of customers who are purchasing 10 to 50 times more product than everybody else.
Wow.
I realized that through email, text messaging, even picking up the phone and calling them, it just wasn't really effective to kind of scale that business. I actually sat down and hand wrote 500 cards. It was a hit. Sales definitely accelerated. But at that point, I realized, okay, I need to focus on the handwriting, because I think we really actually have something here. And so that was during the pandemic. Built a team, and myself and my co-founder have been working on this for about 3 years now, and have been growing it ever since.
That is a pretty cool idea. So do you do this primarily for the customers that have repeat purchase, or do you use it for cold outreach, or what are the use cases?
So there's 3 main use cases. It's going to be cold outreach to get new customers or leads, I should say. There's going to be relationship building to make sure if you have customers, let's make sure they feel appreciated, to maintain that, and also a win back perspective also works super well.
Idea.
And so that's from a business perspective. We also have consumers using our cards for anything from weddings to Christmas cards, and so really the applications are all over. But the real power of this, from my perspective, is going to be the getting new customers and through outreach.
That would have been great years ago if we could have sent thank you cards for gifts like that. That's a really cool idea. Mail merge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. So things will be expanding into more as we go, but honestly, business is really where we're most focused.
Sure. Well, that's where the money is, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
And the volume. That is a great idea. How can people learn more about Letter Labs?
Well, they could check out our website at www.letterlabs.com. That's letterlabs.com. And check it out.
Cool. Yeah, from the South, I say letter, like LEDD maybe, but no, it's LETT, like
LETT. Yeah.
It's like a real letter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Hi, Jeff. Congratulations on the 100th episode of your amazing podcast. That is quite an accomplishment. I know I've been at mine for 8 years. It's just a matter of getting up every day, finding those amazing guests so that you are really benefiting your audiences as they listen. And it's no small task. So hats off to you. Congratulations. Great job on your show.
Our final guest on today's episode is another founder who is disrupting a legacy industry, Chris Parashevsky, founder and CEO at MindPal. They are using AI to sift through resumes, avoid keyword stuffing, and find great candidate matches, plus much more, to ensure that candidates are a great fit for the role and culture. Give it up for Chris. Hey, I'm here with Chris from MindPal, and they are revolutionizing talent, recruitment, development, and making recruitment great again. So, hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey Jeff, it's great to have you here in San Francisco. It's a great place to be, the Austin conference. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing with talent management and recruiting and making it better.
So probably you heard about recruitment, and a lot of people are struggling with how slow this process is and
incredibly slow.
Yeah. So we're trying to do a lot of automation behind the scenes, but the interface that you're interacting with is a human-like robot. It's like your robotic recruiter, and you can ask him a question about who are you looking for, and we give you those candidates super fast. So that's the...
So instead of posting ads or going out and just doing searches and endless communications back and forth.
Weeks.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
So you're just asking a question. I'm looking for a PHP developer with 5 years experience, and it's going to give you candidates.
And we can iterate. So let's say you want more senior, different geography, like languages, like PHP, but also with that, they do JavaScript. And we keep on sending you super fast profiles until you are happy.
I like it. So I could say I want a salesperson that actually sells stuff, but that...
Yeah. And we also try to explain why the person is a fit. So trying to ask more sophisticated questions to you. And from there, here's why John will be a perfect fit for your business. So then you're like, okay, I'm convinced. Let's do a call. Yeah.
So does it work with soft skills as well and culture fit, or is it just skills based?
Yeah. So we collect as many data points about the candidates. So it's both hard and soft skills. And from that, of course, you're looking for experience and for hard skills, but we're humans. We like the other folks just to be nice and to work as we do with a culture fit. Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea of using AI for an application like this?
Yeah, so started 2 years ago. We were struggling because two of our HR girls went for maternity leave exactly the same time, COVID.
Yeah.
So we have 0 recruiters, and we have so much stuff to work on. So we're struggling to find some automation, some stuff for ourselves, and we figured it out. So that was kind of my co-founder. He's very brilliant, and from there, let's maybe instead of just using for ourselves, let's keep on building, and we'll start kind of licensing for our partners. Yeah.
That is really, really smart. So is it your own database, or are you accessing data from other sources?
We are building our own database. So that's the kind of behind the scene. That's our kitchen. And it is growing. We are kind of leveraging a lot of these existing portals where we can find and invite candidates to the pool, making sure they're available. So whenever you are looking, like on Airbnb, they're right there.
So how do you build both sides of the network at the same time? Because you need employers that are looking for people, and you need candidates for them to find. So you're really building both sides. Was that a challenge?
I mean, it's a stretch, as typically with marketplaces. So you need to kind of balance the demand and supply, so keeping both sides of the equation happy. So we try to be more specifically focused on either the geography or the specific vertical, to make sure that we'll have enough of both sides. But as we grow, we find some ways to accelerate our growth. So yeah.
So is your background sales and marketing or development, or where do you fit into?
Yeah, we're basically both co-founders are technical.
Okay.
So we are kind of software engineers that like to be lazy and don't do too much. And recruitment is one of these things. You either hire a person or you basically in this limbo of there's so much work to do and you need to find a person, or maybe you can automate. So this is how it was a problem for ourselves, a big problem. Yeah.
So how is it being a technical founder, and then you're going from leading a tech team to really leading an organization?
Yeah.
Is that challenging?
It is. Yeah. So I prefer to be a coder and a shy person just working on my computer, and computer is more or less predictable and humans are not. But
we're not.
But at the same time, it's possible to just learn all those kind of soft skills. So I believe the same time you can learn language, the same time you can learn a soft skill, a managerial skill. It just takes energy and time, but definitely doable.
You do very, very well. I would never think that you had a personality where you'd be wanting to just hide away and just code and not be a people person, because you really seem like a great people person to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long story of my life. So it's been a journey. Yeah.
So what was it that made you break out of your shell and really engage people and kind of develop that part of yourself?
I feel it was I was always kind of founder by heart. So my family, I was kind of very close to my grandmother, and she was telling me stories about her father being kind of this guy from the poorest guy in the village turning the richest guy in the village, and she was so proud about him. I was like, oh my God, she's such in love with him. So I don't want to disappoint my grandma, and maybe I'll try to like compete with that kind of story. So that was always in my early days, and from there, I'm born and raised in Europe, right? So we're on this eastern part of the Iron Curtain. So when it fell down, it was such an opportunity for us that we feel like so lucky in the last 30 years. So
what country are you from?
So originally born and raised Poland.
Okay.
And try to spend like 30% of my time here in the Bay Area, kind of like meeting people, conferences, networking, and the rest time in Poland, building the product and working with the team. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so where can people learn more about you and Mindpal online?
I believe the best way to learn about us is LinkedIn. We actually have posted a demo, how it looks like.
Okay.
So we can find it pretty interesting, like 30-second demo, how it works. And I'm pretty approachable from LinkedIn, so that's definitely a good place.
We'll make sure and link that in the podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chris. It's great talking with you.
Thank you, Jeff. Pleasure, and thank you for having me. Hope it was interesting.
My name is Luke Homan. I am the Chief Innovation Officer at Applied Frameworks, and I am so excited for my friend Jeff Maines, who just released his 100th podcast. This is a big deal, people, because you have to be consistent. And not only do you have to be consistent, you have to be good to last more than even just a few episodes in the world of podcasts. I love Jeff's show because it talks about SaaS Fuel. And what do you need to keep fueling your SaaS business? You need profit. So for anyone who hits up me on LinkedIn, I will give you a $99 fee for joining our community. And in the process, I will send you a copy of our new book, Software Profit Streams, coupled with Jeff's podcast. This book, gorgeous book. It is gorgeously illustrated, people. It's the best looking book you've ever seen. Along with Jeff's podcast, this book will help you use that fuel to keep powering your SaaS business. Congratulations, Jeff. I cannot wait to hear you in action for another 1,000 shows.
Thanks again to our guest today for being awesome and sharing your journey and insights. You can find contact info, bios, and links on our site, saasfuel.com. A lot of goodies there, especially with this episode. So all those links, highlights, resources, full show notes are available. Again, saasfuel.com. You should also check out our YouTube channel. All these interviews are there, plus full episodes, shorts, outtakes, some crazy things. Fly landing on my face today. Wherever you're listening, please hit subscribe or follow. Everyone who subscribes this week gets a special Founders Hat Rack. Instead of wearing all those hats, hang them up, focus on what you're best at. And join us again next Thursday for another multi-guest episode. It's also episode 100. Really, really good. More live guests, more top tips from past founder guests. And I will see you next time. Aloha, mahalo. That's a thank you in Hawaii. And I will see you next time. And as always, enjoy the journey. Bye.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.